bans have been on the rise across the United States. From school libraries to local bookstores, certain titles are being challenged, restricted, and even removed altogether. On the surface, this seems like a troubling trend, a step backward in our cultural and intellectual freedoms. But it's actually nothing new in American history. And what if I told you getting your book banned could be the best thing that ever happens to your writing career? Sounds wild, right? But in this video, we're going to cover why book bans aren't just roadblocks, they're signals that your words have power, and that you're doing something right.
So who am I? I'm Delin Blake, a neurodivergent published author, book coach, and former ghostwriter of over 200 books. You can check me out at delinblake.com. And I'm going to share with you my experiences of the best ways to write books, even when you're ADHD and autistic like me and work a full-time job. Because the modern world makes it easier than ever for us to achieve our author dreams. And I have a free gift for you. Be sure to check it out in the description below. It's going to make writing go so much faster and easier and give you the clarity you need.
I know what I just said sounded crazy, so let's rewind for a second. Did you know there was a time when being banned in Boston was a marked success? Back in the early 20th century, Boston had strict moral codes, and books, plays, and even art that pushed boundaries were quickly banned. But banning them didn't silence them. In fact, it did the opposite. It made these works of art even more popular. People are naturally curious, and they don't like being told what to do. So when they saw the label banned in Boston, it was like a badge of honor. It was saying, this book is so bold, so controversial, they don't want you to read it. And of course, that made people want to read it even more. Authors started premiering their work in Boston just to get banned, then used the ban as a marketing strategy. They'd slap "Banned in Boston" on their book covers, and readers everywhere else outside of Boston would flock to buy it. Because there's something about human nature that makes us want what we're told we can't have. That's the way it's always been, and that's the way it will continue to be. I experienced that firsthand when I was in school, because I went to a public school in the American South, and if you know anything about the American South, you'll know that it's very Bible Belt, and certain books were off limits. You know the types of books, too controversial, too inappropriate, too whatever for young minds. Like V.C. Andrews was, of course, on the list. Chronicles of Narnia? Yeah, that was on the list too. Edgar Allan Poe? Surprisingly, yeah, that was on the list. When I tried to check that book out, the librarian called my mother. Thankfully, my mother didn't care as long as it was a book. Because when I was told I couldn't read a certain book, naturally, not only did I read it, I devoured it. And since I couldn't get them from the school library, I got them from the bookmobile instead. The bookmobile was like a library on wheels. It came around every 2 weeks back then. The bookmobile was actually not geared towards children, it was geared towards the whole community. And the reason we had a bookmobile is because outside the school library, the area had no library of its own. So I was able to check out books from the bookmobile. Because like I said, my mother didn't care what I was reading as long as I was reading something. But that brings up the question, why did I go through all that trouble? Well, let's be real. When someone says you can't do something, it's like lighting a fire inside you to prove them wrong. That rebellious streak is inside all of us, especially writers. So when you hear a book is banned, it's almost like a siren call. What is in there that they don't want me to see? You have to find out. The truth is, people are drawn to the forbidden. That's why when something is labeled dangerous or taboo, we're wired to want to explore it, to understand why. And that curiosity doesn't die. It fuels sales, fuels discussions, and keeps books alive in the cultural conversation long after the bans are put in place. So what does that mean for you as a writer? Have something you want me to cover in the future? Want to respond or have a question about something I said? Comment below. It means that if your book ever gets banned anywhere, you've done something right. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but stick with me here. When a book is banned, it's not because the writing is poor or the story lacks substance. Those type of books never get banned. I can't imagine a world where a Hallmark movie, for example, would ever get banned. It's because the ideas in those books have struck a nerve. They hit so close to home, challenge the status quo so effectively, that the people in power feel threatened. They want to shut it down because your book is making people think. It's making them question things they've never considered before. And people in power don't like that. And this isn't a new idea. Books have been banned for centuries precisely because they are important. For example, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe didn't just tell a story about slavery, it ignited a national conversation that contributed to the Civil War. It made people so uncomfortable that it was banned and even burned in the South. Even Abraham Lincoln himself said upon meeting Stowe, "So this is the little lady who wrote the book that started the war." The book was understood to have that kind of power. And she took that remark as a compliment, and rightfully so. Or here's another book that people love to ban, Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. It's been banned for promoting teenage rebellion and using language that was considered too harsh. But what it really did was give voice to an entire generation of young people who felt lost, disconnected, and misunderstood. It challenged society's view of adolescence, and that scared people. Now this pattern continues today. Books dealing with race, gender identity, sexuality, social justice. These are at the forefront of today's book bans. Why? Because these are the issues that challenge the status quo. These are the topics that force people to look at the world from perspectives they may not have encountered before, and that can be deeply uncomfortable. But here's the silver lining. Every time a book is banned, it gains more attention. The more people try to suppress it, the more others want to read it. There's this incredible irony where the act of banning a book makes it more visible than it ever would have been if it had just been quietly left on the shelf. Let's look at another one, a more modern one, Beloved by Toni Morrison.
I hope you're enjoying the video so far and that you've gotten some aha moments. If so, remember to like to see more content like this.
This Pulitzer Prize-winning novel is one of the most frequently banned books in modern America. It's because it deals with the horrors of slavery in a way that is raw, emotional, and brutally honest. And let's face it, there's a lot of people who don't like that. Some school districts have even tried to remove it from their classrooms because it makes readers too uncomfortable. But let's take a look at what happens to it every time it gets banned. Beloved gets new life. People rally around it. It sparks new conversations. It gets more readers. It even got a movie, and people flock to see it. Now let's talk about something similar that is not a book. The 2019 movie Joker. And as I said, that's not actually a book. It's not based on a book. But people were trying to ban it. People were discouraged from seeing it. The media tried scare tactics, professional critics attacked it, and some places did even try to ban the movie before it even came out. However, despite concerns, controversies, and even warnings from critics and authorities about violent themes and dark portrayal of mental illness, it became a massive success. It's the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, surpassing Deadpool and The Matrix Reloaded. And it was the very first R-rated movie to gross over $1 billion. Ever. And that's the power of banning a book, or really trying to ban any kind of art. It amplifies the message. It takes something that was once maybe floating along and turns it into a cultural phenomenon. And that's why, as a writer, you shouldn't be afraid of that kind of censorship. Not only should you be ready for it, you should embrace it. You should be proud if it happens, because it means your book is making an impact. Now I know what you're thinking. What if my book doesn't get banned because it's controversial or groundbreaking? What if it's not controversial or groundbreaking at all? What if it's just a quiet story? I hear you. But here's the thing. Sometimes even quiet stories get banned. It's not about shaking up the world with bold political statements. Look at Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. On the surface, it's just a children's book about friendship and imagination. But this book has been repeatedly banned and challenged because of its themes of death, religion, and the afterlife. It didn't have to be a loud, aggressive book to touch on themes that made people uncomfortable. Even Harry Potter has been banned in many places, not because it's inherently political, well, it kind of is, but also because of its depiction of witchcraft and magic. That was the same reason Narnia was banned in my school. Some people see it as a threat to their beliefs, but banning these books didn't diminish their impact, it enhanced it. The point I'm making is that whether your book is an epic social commentary or a simple tale that offers readers an escape, it can still have power. Every story has the potential to connect readers in a meaningful way. And if your book ends up on a banned list, you're in good company. You'd be standing shoulder to shoulder with writers like Toni Morrison, J.K. Rowling, George Orwell, and Judy Blume. You've joined a group of authors whose work was seen as too disruptive, too thought-provoking, or too honest. And that's a good thing. And now I want to talk a little more about the digital age we're living in and how that affects banned books, because this is something I think all writers need to hear. You have more power now than ever before. By the way, I have a free gift for you that's going to supercharge your writing and give you the clarity you need to move forward on your book. You can get it in the description of the video below. If your book gets banned, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road for your story. Far from it. In fact, this is where real opportunities come in. In the past, if a book was banned from libraries or schools, it was much harder for readers to find it. The control was in the hands of the gatekeepers, the publishers, the distributors, the retailers. You really had to search to find these banned books. Not everybody had a handy-dandy bookmobile that showed up every 2 weeks. But that's not the case anymore. We live in a world where digital platforms, self-publishing, and online communities can make your book more accessible than ever, even if it's banned in certain places or certain parts of the country. And let's talk about self-publishing for a second. Today, writers have more freedom than ever to get their work out there. But if you ever feel like the odds are stacked against you, remember the book Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't really speak French. Anyway, it was published in 1857, and it faced not just banning, but an actual trial for obscenity, and Flaubert had to fight to get it published. The government found the novel's portrayal of an adulterous woman scandalous, and he was accused of corrupting public morals, which was an actual crime. But after the trial, the book was released, and the controversy only helped boost its popularity. It's unimaginable for us today to think about writing something you believe in so deeply, only to be faced with an actual trial, not just censorship, but potential punishment. But yet, this work survived and went on to become one of the most acclaimed novels in history. This just goes to show that no matter the obstacles, whether legal, societal, or personal, your work has the potential to make a lasting impact. Today, you have tools that Flaubert could only dream of. You don't need a traditional publisher to share your voice with the world. Platforms like Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, also known as KDP, and Draft to Digital allow you to bypass gatekeepers entirely. You could even sell books from your own website. Even if your book faces rejection or controversy, you can still get it directly into the hands of the readers. And that's powerful. Today you have the power to publish your work and reach a global audience instantly. Think about how revolutionary that is. Even if your book is banned in a specific school district or in certain stores or even in entire regions, you can still make it available to anyone with an internet connection. Your readers can find your book in a matter of seconds, download it, and read it on their phones, e-readers, or computers. And that's not all. Social media has given writers the ability to build their own communities and promote their work directly to the readers. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are full of readers who are hungry for the next banned or controversial book. For books in general. There are entire communities like Book Talk and Bookstagram dedicated to sharing and celebrating banned books. They're constantly on the lookout for the next story that pushes boundaries, challenges ideas, or even just gives them something different. Now picture this. Your book gets banned in a few places, but then a reader picks it up, loves it, and shares it with their online community. Suddenly, a wave of new readers who are curious about why this book was banned are eager to dive into its pages. That's the ripple effect of the digital world we live in. A ban doesn't silence a book anymore. It amplifies it. One ban doesn't silence a book anymore. It amplifies it. And let's not forget the rise of audiobook platforms like Audible, Google Play, and others. Even if people can't find your physical book in a store, they can still listen to it. Audiobooks have become one of the fastest growing markets in publishing, and they have to offer yet another avenue for your work to reach readers. With the introduction of AI-read books, we're going to see a lot more books coming into audio. Readers who commute, do housework, or even just lying down with their headphones in, listen to these books, and hear their story come to life in their minds. That's why I say that in today's world, one book ban doesn't stop a book, it's just a bump in the road. You have so many ways to reach your audience, and the ban can actually help draw attention to your work. Use it as an opportunity to connect with readers who are excited to discover something that challenges the norm. Of course, it's important to remember that not every book that gets banned is a raging success, But the act of banning a book signals that it contains something powerful, something worth reading, discussing, and sharing. And whether your book gets banned or not, the key takeaway here is that your words matter. Your stories have the potential to connect with readers, to challenge them, and to stay with them long after they've finished reading. You're part of a much larger movement. You're standing with the authors who paved the way before you, the ones who have faced bans, censorship, criticism, even legal ramifications, and still managed to make a lasting impact. So keep writing, keep pushing boundaries, keep telling your story, no matter what. And remember, the power of your book doesn't lie solely in whether or not it gets banned. The true power of a book is in its ability to touch someone's heart, to change their perspective, or give them a little bit of hope or joy when it's needed most. So whether you're writing the next banned classic or a simple, heartfelt story that offers comfort, know that your words have the potential to make a difference. And that's something no ban can ever take away from you. Until next time, this is Delin Blake saying write on and claim your free gift at the link below.